Happy and healthy to you and your families. Welcome to the January 11, 2022 Hempstead Board Meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clayton.
Here.
Councilman Carini.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Councilman Muscarella.
Yeah. Let's Councilman D'Esposito at least in the Pledge of Allegiance.
With your hand over your heart, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you stay, give a moment of silence. This week we lost somebody that worked for the town for decades. He's a wonderful guy, and anybody who's ever been a lifeguard here knows Andy Neely was a good guy. He worked hard with everybody, and so many young people, learned how to be lifeguards on him. It was a tragic loss, and if we just have a moment of silence to remember our good friend. God bless. Thank you all. Madam Clerk, please call the first public hearing.
The first public hearing is a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Belmore and East Atlantic Beach.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this item? Okay, I don't have any slips in on this item. Does any member of the audience wish to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
Make a motion that we have the hearing and vote on the item. I second the motion.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini. Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking and standing prohibitions in Baldwin, Belmore, East Atlantic Beach, Elmont, Franklin Square, Merrick, North Belmore, Seaford, and Uniondale, and near Valley Street.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this item? Okay, I do not have any slips on this. Does any member of the public here today wish to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Elmont, Seaford, Wanto, and Woodmere.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this item? Okay, I do not have any slips. Does any member of the audience here today wish to be heard that do not sign in? Okay, if not, may I please have a motion?
Make a motion that the item be closed and adopted.
I second the motion.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding school speed limits in Uniondale.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do not have any slips. Does any member of the audience that didn't sign in want to be heard on this item in particular? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the item be closed and adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in Baldwin, East Atlantic Beach, Elmont, Franklin Square, Oceanside, and Uniondale.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this item? Okay, I do not have any slips. Anybody here who did not sign in wish to be heard on item number 5? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the item be adopted.
Thank you.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito. Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
It's to review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission, that's 650 Nassau Road, Uniondale, be landmarked.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips on this. Anybody in the public didn't sign in want to be heard on item number 6? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the item be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Another review to recommend the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gables home at 81 Fox Boulevard in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this item? Okay, I have a number of slips that want to speak on this. If, when your name is called, could you just please go back to the back podium and speak there? We appreciate it. You have 3 minutes. We will start with Joseph, I'm sorry, it's not coming. Joseph? Joseph, it's cutting off on the computer. How do you pronounce the last name? Did you want to speak? No? Okay, that's fine. Next we have Annie Fernan. Do you want to be heard, Ms. Fernan? If you come on back to the mic there and you give your name and address, that'd be awesome. Good morning and Happy New Year. If you give your name and address for the record.
Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year to all of you. I'm very happy to have this moment to speak to you. We love our houses in the Merrick Gables area. They are unique, they are beautiful, they are special. And we are thrilled at the prospect of having them declared a landmark. I speak from my own personal knowledge and my husband's. It is grand to have the ability to preserve the history, because our house is almost 100 years old, and it's so special. I wish, though, if we could go one step further, I wish we could create a district, make it a historic district. I understood that in a certain area it is considered a historic district. So as well as our home, I would like to have the district. I may bring that to your attention, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we just get your address for the record, please?
I beg your pardon?
What's your address, just for the record?
62 Henry Street.
Awesome, thank you very, very much. We appreciate you being here today. All right. Next I have Robert Flagel. Good morning. If you please give your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Robert Flegel. I live at 99 Fox Boulevard with my wife. We've been there for 44 years. Prior to that, I lived in Valley Stream and Elmont, so I'm a lifelong town of Hempstead resident. I just wanted to thank the board, and I'm very excited about the prospects of having my house landmark. As my predecessor just said, these are very special homes. I'm holding a piece of paper from a report dated 2017 from the New York State Department of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. They themselves declare the Merrick Gables Historic District. I would respectfully request the board consider updating our town laws to include historic districts, because I look at the calendar for today's events and there are 10 Gables homes. I submitted my application in January of 2019. We're in January of 2022. It's been a 3-year process, and there are only 175 of these homes left, and they are being destroyed by developers so fast that we really do have to act. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, and Happy New Year for coming here today. Salvatore. Would you like to be heard, Salvatore?
No, I never.
Okay, thank you very much.
Too shy.
You're a nice man. Angela Tucci? Good morning and Happy New Year. If you just give your name and address to the record, thank you.
Thank you. Angela Tucci on behalf of my husband, the owner, Nicholas Tucci, 93 Fox Boulevard. I echo the sentiments of other people before, particularly Bob's sentiment, who's our next door neighbor. That being said, I think all of you should consider the interest in landmarking the district is not just based upon the beauty and the architecture of the homes, but the purpose and why they were built in that area in the first place. And I think there's a sense of history that will be lost, except for movie and TV producers who seem to find their way to our neighborhood to film what they consider to be 1920s Pasadena. So it is incumbent upon the town to consider landmarking the whole district, because real estate developers have no interest in preserving the historical context of all of it. the architecture, the reason why they were there, and there are other developments of similar types of homes in other communities by the same developer, in Massapequa and in Amityville. But Merrick Gables is unique, and it needs to be treated accordingly. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in. Happy New Year again. Next, I have Juliet Vernon. Good morning. If you give your name and address for the record, and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Happy New Year. Juliet Vernon, 62 Henry Street. I want to just add to what everyone has said from our neighborhood. Every year on the 4th of July, Jerry Medawar rented a bus to give tours of Merrick and the importance for the history of Merrick so that the newer generations who came in after we read the Constitution at 9 a.m. at the gazebo, people could learn about where they were living. This is why we need a historic district. This is why our houses need to be landmarked. Jerry understood that, and we have to continue that and preserve Merrick's tradition and history. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Again, thank you very much for coming in. I don't have any of the slips on this. Is anybody here in the public that didn't sign in want to be heard on item number 7? If not, may I please have a motion?
First, I want to make a quick comment. I want to thank Robert and the rest of the Gables Association for the hard work to bring this in front of the Landmark Commission. I know I've spoken to Robert many times over the last year or two. And I'm proud to say I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second. Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Casito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Aye. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Well, thank you all the residents who came on in. Again, a Happy New Year and that, and congratulations. And we'll follow up with the Landmark Commission about some of your ideas and other districts. So thank you all very much for coming in. Madam Clerk, if you please call the next item.
It's to review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 88 Fox Boulevard in Merrick be designated a historic landmark as well.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, now everybody slips on number 8. Any member of the public wish to be heard on number 8? If not, may I have a motion?
Move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Casito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
It is to review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 93 Fox Boulevard in Merrick be designated a historic landmark.
Okay, member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, how many slips? Any member of the public wish to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Casito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
To review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 99 Fox Boulevard in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips. Does any member of the public wish to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
Move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Aye.
Supervisor Clayton.
Second. I second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Casito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
To review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 52 Henry Street in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Okay, a member of the board wish to be heard on this? If not, I don't have any slips. Any member of the public wish to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
Move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Casito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
To review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 56 Henry Street in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Okay, a member of the board wish to be heard on this? I don't have any slips. Any member of the public wish to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Casito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
It is to review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 58 Henry Street in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Okay, a member of the board wish to be heard of this? If any slips, any member of the public wish to be heard of this? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
To review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 62 Henry Street in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Any member of the board wish to be heard of this? Any slips, any member of the public wish to be heard on this one? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Is to review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 64 Henry Street in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips on this item. Any member of the public wish to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Dorothy Boothby. And Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
You got a special alert.
Great. And Madam Clerk, hopefully not the last, but on this calendar it is. Would you call the next item?
It is to review the recommendation of the Town of Hempstead Landmarks Preservation Commission that the Merrick Gable home located at 119 Lincoln Boulevard in Merrick be designated a historical landmark.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I don't have any slips. Any member of the public wish to be heard on this? And if not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, and again, I thank the residents for coming in. Congratulations. And I will say, if you could applaud yourselves, I will say, perhaps we could set up a meeting with Councilman Creedy, my staff, and some others about some of your thoughts on the district. But again, congratulations to all of you, and thank you again for coming in, and a happy new year to each of you.
Thank you so much.
Please, be very kind. Madam Clerk, can you please call the next item?
Yes, we have actually two companion resolutions. I'll call them both, but they will be separately voted upon. We have the resolution adopting the secret negative declaration and determination of non-significance in connection with the request for the increase and improvement of the Merrick Fire Protection District. Also, we have the resolution in order for a proposed increase and improvement of the Merrick Fire Protection District.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I don't have any slips. Any member of the audience want to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Pardon me, sir, members of the board, I think the secret declaration has to be voted on separately first.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Yes. This will be the separate vote for item 17A. We've done the motion in a second.
We've set the motion. Somebody just make a motion in 17A. So it's good.
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Now may I have a motion on 17?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call on the next item.
Right, we have the proposed local law regarding resident parking near Mount Sinai South Nassau Hospital.
Okay, do any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips in any member of the public wish to be heard on this. If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, Madam Clerk, I guess we're calling 19A and 19 next?
Yes, they are companion resolutions. 19A is a resolution adopting a secret negative declaration and determination of non-significance in connection with the renewal of a cable television system franchise agreement. And then 19 is the proposed renewal of a cable television system franchise agreement with Cablevision Systems Long Island Corporation.
Okay, any member of the board wish to hear any of these items? Okay, I do have one slip out on this. Felix Procacci. Morning, Mr. Procacci. If you name an address for the record and a happy new year.
Village Procacci, Franklin Square. Is this agreement posted on the town's website? I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
It's running.
Thank you very much for letting me know that for everyone. Joe, is that posted on the town website?
Supervisor, if it were not, we'll certainly make it available to Mr. Procacci.
Okay. Also, are there any associated fees or taxes in this agreement?
Again, Mr. Procacci, the agreement will speak for itself. I don't think that anybody can answer your question just off the top of their head, but we will provide that with you.
Because, I mean, you're voting on it, so I would hope that everybody up there read it before they vote on it, you know. So if there are any fees or taxes associated with it, you know, they're likely to be passed on to the consumer. And I think that should be known to the public. So, you know, I'm not sure how you can vote on something that you haven't read. But thank you very much.
Okay, thank you again. Happy New Year. I don't have any other slips on this matter. Does anybody in the public wish to be heard on it? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, we need two separate motions for each item, correct?
Correct.
All right. For 19A, I move that the public hearing be closed and...
Which is 19.
Okay. I move that the hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
There you go.
Okay, and for clarity of the record, this is on resolution 19A.
And for clarity of the record, we're talking about approving a secret declaration, not closing a hearing and adopting a hearing. 19A.
Correct.
Thank you.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Guzman. Councilman Mascarello.
Aye.
And then for 19, I move to approve the proposed renewal of the cable television franchise agreement.
And close the hearing.
Second. Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Guzman.
Aye.
Councilman Mascarello.
Aye.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the administrative calendar.
Yes, we have items 20 through 88 on the administrative calendar. I also have two items that are of an emergency or urgent nature. The first emergency resolution authorizes the payment of annual membership dues for the town of Hempstead to the Association of Towns of the State of New York. And the second emergency resolution requests legislation for an act to amend the vehicle and traffic law in relation to authorizing the town of Hempstead in the county of Nassau to establish residential parking systems in the neighborhoods of Belrose Terrace and Elmont. Those items will be added to the administrative calendar as items number 89 and 90.
Supervisor, I move to table item 80.
Is there a second?
80. 80. Supervisor, I move to table item 80.
I second.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Clayton?
Aye, number 8.
Councilman Clayton.
It's over.
Excuse me, Supervisor Clayton.
No, it's aye on 8.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Guzman.
Aye.
Councilman Mascarello.
Aye.
Okay, on the rest of the administrative calendar, I have a couple of slips on that. Does any member of the board wish to maybe hear on anything else?
There were two items that, before we actually get to the rest of the administrative calendar.
Yep.
One is a calling resolution, which is listed as item number 87, which perhaps Councilman Esposito or one of the other council people would be gracious enough to make a motion to table. The issue there is that the developer has requested that the hearing not proceed on January 25th. It's a perfectly reasonable request. And we often try to accommodate the applicant and anybody else who has an interest in the hearing. So they're requesting that it be done at a later date.
Okay.
So if we could possibly table that following resolution.
Supervisor, I move that we table item 87.
I second
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on number 87.
We'll do the roll on 87.
Yep.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Brisby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay.
And then separately, with respect to the item that is currently listed as 50, there was some typographical errors in item number 50 that dealt with the actual amounts. And so the corrected amounts would be, instead of the second resolve clause listed no more than 1,500, it should be 150 to be paid to the Association of Towns. The next amount would be $1,200 to be paid to the Marriott Marquis instead of $1,500. And the third amount, $550 for parking, gasoline, tolls, and meals. The clerk has the amended and corrected resolution in front of her. So I would recommend that this be adopted as an amendment in nature of a substitution. That is, we substitute the corrected copy for the incorrect copy.
Okay, so we're just amending it, then we can still vote under the regular holding calendar?
Exactly.
Okay.
Supervisor, I move to amend the item referencing the amounts that the town attorney
Second.
mentioned.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Brisby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, first, is any board member wishing to speak on any other items on the administrative calendar? Okay, a couple of slips here. Town hall people want to speak on the administrative calendar. We'll start with a very important phone call. First, I'll start with Felix Percassion. Good morning. Can you name and address of the record, please?
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. First, all the amended resolutions and added resolutions, I ask that those be put on the town's website in accordance with the open meetings law. Also, on items number 31, you're borrowing money to do highway construction. The last I checked, we haven't spent, or we only spent 5.9 of the 40 million that we borrowed, that the resolution allocated in 2020 on roadways. So we authorized 40 million, we only borrowed 5.9. You know, I'm asking, why are we authorizing another 30 million if we haven't even spent the 40 million that we authorized in 2020?
Town Controller, John Masmarino.
Mr. Procacci, the cash is fungible, it's all in a fund, and if there is cash available and the authorizations are available, we do spend the money accordingly. That these contracts are ongoing. I've been signing these contracts ad nauseum, and the payments are lagging the completion of the work. And if we don't authorize another $30 million, the period to do these contracts expires as the weather gets colder and later in the year. So we need the authorizations, then we'll go out to bid, then the bids are signed, contracts are awarded, and we want to get that out before November, December, when the asphalt plants close. I mean, it's a process. We are spending the money. I don't know where you're getting your information from, but I can tell you, I sign those things every day, the contract books. The money is being spent.
Okay, I'll tell you where I'm getting it from. When I look at the EMA website, are you familiar with that website? That puts up municipal bonds. The bond resolution that we passed in 2020 for 40 million, we didn't borrow any of that money until December of 2020.
Right.
So that's after the, I think it was December 15th, when the asphalt companies closed down for the winter. If we put out press releases saying that we're spending $40 million on roadways due to this bond referendum, you know, we're attributing this bond referendum to the spending when that money was not even borrowed and only a small portion was borrowed till December. So there's where I get the information from, and to me, it's misleading. If you already have the money in cash, you have $40 million in the bank, why are you borrowing it? Why don't you just say we're going to fix $40 million worth of roadway and keep it simple?
Because we do a cash flow analysis. We don't just look at one item as you're doing it. We do a cash flow analysis. We have a lot of projects ongoing, not just one project. We've got $190 million for water purification. We've got equipment that's needed. We've got a very large capital program that we have to manage the cash flow. And if we need to borrow the actual borrowed money, we do it. If we can have the authorization and utilize existing cash, why would we run up an interest expense?
No, I get that, but you told me, you just said I speak on one issue, but that's how that press release was put out in 2020. It spoke about that one issue, to attribute a bond referendum to road repair. It did a one-to-one. I'm doing a one-to-one and you're criticizing me for doing a one-to-one. That's the way it was sold to the public. That's the way you presented it. So if you want to make it clear, when you put out the press release, put all these words that you're saying to me now, put that in the press release. Don't make it a one-to-one, because I'm listening to what the administration is saying. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Country. Always nice to see you. Next, I have a slip from Diane Madden.
How are you?
Happy New Year, Ms. Madden. If you your name and address of the record.
New Year, Diane Madden, Hempstead. Item number 56. Could someone explain to me what this is about?
Commissioner, please identify yourself.
Good morning, Supervisor. Good morning, Town Board, Senior Councilwoman. This is,
Commissioner Marina.
we're applying for a grant for services at the animal shelter. So this is more, not a legal matter, but putting the paperwork in place to apply for a grant with the state in order to do upgrades for outside activities for the animal shelter. I believe it's $50,000.
Okay.
Outside activities? Do you have something specific?
I don't know the specifics of the grant. I believe it's outside play areas.
Because there are already at least 2 outside play areas. That's why it's somewhat confusing.
This could be to upgrade other ideas that we may have.
So you're the commissioner for the animal shelter and you don't know. Is that true?
Ms. Madden, that's not the case.
Well, what is the
Ms.
grant for?
Madden, please. It's a new year. It's 2022. Let's all be nice this year, and let's just say he answered the question. I think he did a nice job answering it. You identified it as a grant. It's to upgrade facilities. You know, if you please, let's be pleasant this year.
You know, look, apparently that doesn't work because you said Stephanie Capiano was so sweet and so pleasant. You promised to call her back personally, and you didn't. And trust me, my approach for many years was to put my faith and trust in this administration, and it doesn't happen. So I don't see why it's disrespectful to ask the commissioner, who, by the way, you promised to remove during your campaign for supervisor. He's still here, and he can't answer a simple question. I believe that I would love to see the animal shelter a state-of-the-art facility, but the truth of the matter is it doesn't matter because you have bad leadership at the animal shelter. You have leadership that has destroyed programs, destroyed services, destroyed relationships.
Do you have any questions regarding item number 56?
I'd like an answer to my question.
I believe the commissioner did answer your
No,
question.
he didn't, and I would also like to know if the taxpayers have to match whatever the amount is in addition to that grant money.
I don't believe so. We're applying for a grant for $50,000.
Thank you very much for that answer. And anything else on item number 56, Ms. Patton?
No, other than the fact that it is a new year, Supervisor, and I do believe that you're still emotionally reachable. And I wish you'd keep your promise. That would be a great way to start out the new year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and again, Happy New Year. Next, I have up Bonnie Barron. Happy New Year, and for your name and address to the record.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Bonnie Barron and Rockville Center. I have a question about item 81. In the resolution, it states that there is an attachment and set forth on certain listing attached hereto and made part hereof. Where is the attachment?
Ms. Guerrero, you're quite correct. It does refer to an attachment, which the last time this was produced, which is we call it the master personnel or the master resolution for all the items. It was 57 pages long. That was at a period in which the start of the year and the first meeting were more than 11 days. This is the 11th of January. And we were able to get that verified so that it could be attached in an appropriate manner and at the right time. It should be attached, it was meant to be attached, and I agree with you that in a perfect world it would be attached. But what it contains is 1,774 employees who are listed by name, title, department, salary, grade, so on and so forth. And while that information has been on a rolling basis, constantly been updated, every time there is a personnel action throughout the year by this town board, and all of that is available. The actual attachment itself had not yet been verified, and so it wasn't possible to place it on here. I do know that you had foiled that attachment because you had spoken with our clerk, and I had spoken with the clerk as well. And in a perfect world, we would have the attachment here. But we will get it to you, and we will get it to you as expeditiously as possible. Unfortunately, it wasn't practical, and here's the reason why, which I think you'll understand. There were a number of people who were out with COVID, other people out on mandatory quarantine, and other people out on precautionary quarantine. So in reality, the old master resolution, which had been updated every single time there was a personnel action throughout the year, is still something that it exists, and all that information can be provided to you. So the master resolution is still before you. The attachment itself has not yet been completed or verified in a form that it can be attached. Because, again, we did not have the staff or the personnel, even with respect to the computer and technology aspects of it, where the computer and technology aspects also had problems with COVID sickness, COVID quarantine, both mandatory and precautionary. So we will have that for you, and in response to your FOIL request. And I would hope rather rapidly, as we have attempted in the past, I believe you'll acknowledge, to try to get, when we can, matters that are easily obtainable in response to a FOIL request to you. But that is the reason why this resolution is present, that the attachment could not be there. It could not be, in a practical way, verified in sufficient time for the hearing, which again is 11 days after the first of the year. Bear in mind, on the first of the year, there are step increases, there are contract raises, and there are also other additions and deletions to the overall 1,774 employees and their status and their titles and their salaries.
Thank you. Let me just say several things. Number one, if the attachment that you're voting on is not ready, it should be tabled until it is ready. Number two, I did not foil that document. I requested it under the Public Officers Law, which, based on legislation signed in October, which amended the Public Officers Law, to require documents to be discussed in public meetings, be available upon request, or posted on the website at least 24 hours before the meeting. That was my request. So I did send an email asking under the Public Officers Law if I could have that list before today, and I understand the technological issues you explained, but I got back an email from the town clerk's office calling it a FOIL request, actually characterizing it as a FOIL request without the accompanying FOIL application. And I submit that the town clerk ought to educate the members of her staff. Now, actually, the staff members have been wonderfully helpful and I know work very hard. But it's incumbent upon either the legal department or the town clerk to educate the staff that the Public Officers Law requires you to give anyone a document before the town board meeting. And it's not a FOIL request, and I don't need to be admonished that I made the request without the FOIL request. Now, public office, in case you need the site, it's Public Officers Law 103 2E. And, you know, I appreciate the explanation on this particular item, but this is a continuing issue. Mr. Procacci mentioned it in regard to the item he spoke of. The Public Officers Law requires you to make these documents available. The website is available. PDFs, regardless of their length, can easily be posted, and it's the board's responsibility. I appreciate you saying that you'll get it to me, and that you'll get Mr. Procacci what he asked for. But the point of this law is that we should have this material before the board meeting, so we can speak intelligently about it and know what's going on. Not just the speakers, but all of the residents. So I ask you, please, as nicely as I can, to please follow Public Officers Law 103 2E. Thank you.
Well, okay, I don't have any other slips on this matter. Does anybody else in the audience that did and want to be heard on the administrative calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, and they should please go up and give your name and address for the record, and a happy New Year.
Me, J. Merrick, Baldwin resident. Where does one begin? First of all, in my time, my 3 minutes, I want to make sure that I expedite as much pleasantly as possible, but unfortunately we're carrying over a lot of baggage from 2021, so when you're carrying that load and you pay the taxes we pay out here, and when folks are trying to infringe upon that First Amendment right of freedom of speech, that continues to be a problem. I'm calling on whether it's state regulators, federal regulators, and maybe Newsday to actually do some investigative reporting as opposed to revising the press releases from the communications department with what pertains to almost outright and downright misappropriation of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Just looking at some of these items, and before I'm admonished about what I am on the admin calendar, let's just talk about all the items in the 40s group that speak to federally funded projects that, unfortunately, this township continues to disavow state regulations as it pertains to the inclusion of minority and veteran-owned businesses. So I'm still seeing some of these same names, Supervisor, in 2022 of clearly politically connected contractors and servicers that I don't think are representative of a veterans classification, minority group, white, female, a female of color, indigenous, disabled, lesbian, transgender, gay, etc. So when we speak to, again, looking at settlements within this resolution that we have to pay for, again, previous years' activity, and looking at the potential settlements that are coming up this year, we have a problem that's ongoing. But if you want some specific issues as far as a requirement, 55, resolution authorizing execution of certain documents relative to a grant application, all of that jargon. What exactly does that mean? What are those documents and what is it about? Somebody could stop the time so I could get the answer, and I'm owed like 4 seconds.
The best way I can explain this to you, ma'am, is very simply, these are federal grants that come in that allow, for example, such items as the weatherizing for seniors who apply for the grants, other items that allow for the planning and economic development to allow for the rehabilitation of blighted areas, each of which, you'll notice, for example, the revitalization of the Baldwin downtown area on 155. Each of these things is done largely by federal grants administered through HUD and that are administered locally by the town of Hempstead through planning and economic development. And they're for numerous purposes.
So $10 million was authorized from New York State, of which I believe $500,000 is already done with. And have you driven down Grand Avenue, which is now jacked up, but I know that's a county road before somebody tells me that. So Baldwin has not been revitalized, but somebody's getting paid. That's a problem. Again, I'm looking for Newsday to do some investigative work with regard to this. Now, next issue, 27, 28, 29. The senior centers. We have Cosneck Park is a town park. What is being designed to address seniors who are locally in Cosneck Park?
Morning, Commissioner. If you identify yourself.
Commissioner Lisa Murphy, Department of Senior Enrichment. We do not have a current center at Cosneck Park. However, we do have a senior center in Wanto, and we also have a senior center in Belmore. We will and do find ways to transport seniors who live outside of one of the designated areas. When they make an inquiry to the department, we will then provide them with transportation to the nearest center. We have currently 14 centers, most of which operate out of our senior housing authority area in their community rooms. This therefore saves us the cost of having to rent additional space. We only have one senior center located in a park that is in our Merrick Park. Our park facilities really are not large enough or able to accommodate the type of community activities that we like to have. However, again, as I stated, if a resident is a senior and lives outside of one of the areas that has a designated senior center, as long as they are a town of Hempstead resident, we will accommodate them with transportation to the nearest center.
Then why are we investing money into paving issues for these parks and not providing resources for the actual human resources for these local residents? That's my problem with that one. Fine, okay. Again, in my final minutes, I am urging the state and the federal government and Newsday to look into particularly the PPE funding distribution and the COVID funds that have been misappropriated in this area. Thank you.
Again, I don't have any of the slips on the administrative calendar. Anybody else in the audience wish to be heard on the administrative calendar? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that we, okay, I wrote it down this time. I move the administrative calendar with the exception of 80 and 87.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead, all right, second. You want to second this guy?
Okay, so I take it that they will be adopted, the motion is adopted. Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Queen.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Queenie.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye. Okay, now the formal town board meeting is adjourned. The town board will remain to listen to comments from the resident. First one I have is Stephanie Kuzma. Good morning. If you give your name and address to the record.
Kathy Wanto, 34 Wishbone Lane, Wanto, New York. Hi, how are you? Good New Year to you. I'm here to talk about of course, the Tnr program. I know I left a couple of messages and I was frustrated. But I just want to tell you that the feline facts that cats are very prolific breeders at this time, as you know, so it's so important to spay and neuter. And the stats are staggering. A single pair, I don't know if you know this, but a single pair of cats and offspring can produce as many as 420,000
kittens in 7 years. So we have a very small window of time right now between right now and spring when it's kitten season. And with the weather, it was so warm, it's earlier this year. So really now, the gestation time is only from the time of conception to birth. It's only a couple of months, but 62 days. So right after that, they go into heat again, and they get impregnated by millions of male cats. So getting male cats is priceless. But the fact is that we have no time to lose. The program has to restore. I shouldn't have to pay. I paid a lot of money, Mr. Clavin, respectfully. $400 the other day when I was helping this girl at PetSmart, and she needed help. She had cats and kittens, and she was so sick, she didn't feel good. So I said, okay, I'll help you, I can trap. So I went over there, and it was a crazy, precarious, crazy little parking lot. You had to go through a hole to get to these cats, that we had to find kittens, and we did all that. But I couldn't bring them there. We had enlisted a friend to help, and we couldn't take them to the town of Hempstead, and I loved that program. It was such a good, Dr. Singh is excellent. He didn't do 5 cats a day, he did 700 a month. Because I know somebody that worked there that she used to cover the stats for that. So we have to get all the COVID down, and you know, at my old job as state lawyer, a lot of people aren't vaccinated, some are, but you know what, if they're out with COVID, they have to cover. There's no slacking here, you know. The 5.5 million is still there, it's not going, they didn't take the Tnr Program funds away. So can we just get the program back? A lot of my rescue friends are very frustrated. They don't know where to take the cats, they have no appointments. And they're used to utilizing the town of Hempstead, and it was a great staff, a great program, great, when I tell you. So I don't understand what's going on right now. I know that it was COVID, but now we have to, businesses are getting back to normal, and the funds are there, we got the grants coming in, and I'm spending $400 to fix cats, and I really do care about this. This is my thing, that I'd like to help with the community and clean it up. We're going to have a population, we're going to have an explosion. If I didn't help that girl, we would have had, you know, it would have been really a mess over there. We grabbed 5 kittens, blah, blah, blah.
Listen, I hear what you're saying, and I do want to let you know that I did speak to them, and the appointments were because of the COVID, and we all know the numbers have gone up, a lot of people get infected. But I also wanted to tell you that, you know, I was assured that if somebody showed up without an appointment, they weren't turned away. But as things look, we're hoping we pass a certain hill here with the COVID, and things will get a little more, you know, open up, and they go back to more of a free-for-all program, you know, at least with the TNR. There are some things that definitely need to change down there. But like I said, after you and I, you know, you come to the town board, I did speak to them. I said, yeah, we have appointments, but when people show up with cats, they are not turned away. Is that correct, Jerry?
I had 6 in a trap. We had 6 in a trap.
Did you bring them over there?
No.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying to you. You weren't, but I'm saying to you, they assured me, no one's turned away.
Really?
Yeah, Jerry, stand up. Just say, that's the commissioner. Jerry, just tell her right now.
I heard the girl say...
Just say, is anybody turned away, Jerry?
We don't turn anybody away.
Okay.
Doctors are working.
If you want to follow up with the commissioner in the back, you can. Okay, no, not a problem.
Thank you.
No problem, Happy New Year. Okay, next I have Phyllis McCatchy. Happy New Year again, happy name and address?
Franklin Square. At the December 7th meeting, Supervisor Clavin described Stephanie Capiano as delightful and super nice. The supervisor at this meeting told Stephanie that he was going to follow up with her personally regarding her concerns about the town's Tnr program. On December 21st, Stephanie attended to follow up regarding her concerns and asked the supervisor why he didn't call her like he said he would. Supervisor Clavin, you just ignored her, and in my opinion, your response, in particular, your lack of response, was absolutely disgusting. Supervisor Clavin, keeping your word, keeping your promises is work worth doing. Stephen Leventhal has not acknowledged receipt of the ethics complaint I submitted 3 months ago, and I would like to know if the town is going to take the appropriate action to get my complaint processed. Mr. Clavin, I know you don't feel I'm entitled to a response, but I'd like to point out just 7 days ago, you swore an oath for the second time as town supervisor to uphold the laws of the town of Hempstead. Mr. Leventhal, as an attorney, also swore a similar oath and has been hired by the town to process ethics inquiries. According to town law, the town must respond to ethics inquiries. Town residents spent a lot of money so you could hold your induction ceremony in a grandiose fashion. To say the rhetoric at this event was inflated is an understatement. Much was said about the town's spending on food pantries and health care, but the announcer failed to mention that this was less than 15% of the CARES funds received by the town. No mention was made of the $43 million, or 32%, given to the town's sanitation department, the $13 million, or 10%, spent on the town's air conditioning systems, why COVID-19 relief funds were used to renovate the bathrooms of individual town officials, or why the town board refuses to give any excess COVID relief funds to veteran organizations. Reverend Butts spoke about the importance of working together and cited an extended passage of a poem by James Russell Lowell that emphasized the importance of truth and doing what's right. Supervisor Clavin, will you follow the town's ethics law? Will you work with Stephanie to fix the town's Tnr program? Will you follow Reverend Butts' advice? Will you do work worth doing? Thank you.
Happy New Year, Mr. Country, and glad you enjoyed the induction. Next I have Diane Madden. Name and address for the record, thank you.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. Could someone tell me if you're going to be bringing back the virtual public comment at all?
Ms. Madden, you know this is the, we listen to your comments now.
I thought if I said it sweetly, you'd answer that. I think there's a lot of people that would like to speak and they can't because they don't want to be exposed or they have issues that keep them from here. I wanted to bring up another issue regarding the animal shelter. The front staff received a call from a well-respected organization, Bobby and the Strays, where they were told by the staff that this dog that Bobby and the Strays picked up that was stray in Hempstead, legally they had to surrender the dog. They do not, although the shelter is under legal obligation to hold the dog if it is received. So once again, misinformation is given out from the animal shelter, no reflection of the staff because, again, this is a leadership issue. Can anyone tell me when Bruce's seat will be filled, when you will be appointing someone?
It's a new year.
I mean, Supervisor Clavin, you had asked everyone to get off to a good start. There is nothing, I mean, who really wants to be here, right, if you don't feel that the town lacks transparency and putting people first, but I think that the public has a right to know if you intend to fill that seat and with whom. Speaking of a lack of transparency, I have two appeal toils that I sent to Don Dorm. I'd appreciate some response there. Please, I mean, are you just begging for lawsuits? I really, it's very confusing because again, you want to get off to a good start, but the obstructing of transparency is a real thing here. As far as the comment that the commissioner made, he's wrong. He's either being dishonest or he's not doing his job because apparently it is stated in the record that the grants, the taxpayers have to put up a minimum of 50% of tax money to match the grants. We have no idea, and the commissioner has no idea what the grant is for, which tells you everything you need to know. I do appreciate the comments you make, Supervisor, when you confirm that there are concerns about the animal shelter, mismanagement, operational level. That actually falls on you because you can fix that and the board can fix that. Many of these programs and services came about from my settlement talks years ago under, at the time, Supervisor Murray. I urge you again to keep your own words and fix these problems. To say that it's COVID-related, it's not. And to blame volunteers, which I believe you did last time, is really wrong.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Happy New Year. Thank you for that. Next I have Stu Crow. Happy New Year, Mr. Kroll. If you give your name and address for the record, that'd be awesome.
Duke Roll, Great Neck. There are two items I want to talk about today. First of all, to no one's great surprise, we've now reached the beginning of a new year. Shelter conditions are still not improved. At the last meeting, Mr. Clavin, I think you stated, you proudly, I might add, that 29 cats have been fixed as of one particular week. Prior to the closing of the shelter, this was often a daily number rather than a weekly number. How does a trapper prepare for one cat per day? You never know how many cats are going to be caught or when. If these cats are caught too far in advance of an appointment, where are they to be held? Certainly not at the town shelter. Let us also remember that the dropping off and picking up of cats is virtually a contactless proposition. So why this is not at full capacity, I have no idea. Apparently now the rule has been tightened to extend to one cat per household. Therefore, if two friends or family members devoted to rescuing cats happen to live together, they can't bring in both of the cats at the same time. That 29 number, by the way, on a weekly basis, of small rescues such as All About Cats in Freeport, does about 250 cats per month. In terms of the leadership of the shelter, which is obviously a problem, we have one woman working there who lied about most of her qualifications, which of course in the real world would be subject to termination. You know, the other person approved the situation in Utica, you know, which ended up bringing the mayor to tears up there, and I think we all know the tragic result of that. The last item that I want to talk about, and you can tell me if something has happened to this individual or not, there's somebody apparently working, or was working, you can again inform me of that, at the controller's office, who's been charged with selling, now first of all, we all assume obviously that everybody's innocent until proven guilty. We also assume that the police are efficient and wouldn't arrest somebody without good cause. This person was charged with selling dogs and torturing animals, which is, besides some child abuse, about as low as you can get. This is one of the largest dogfighting rings in New York State history, and apparently there's enough money involved there that somebody made a $175,000 bet on which of the dogs were going to survive over there. So I'd like to know if this individual has been transferred, has he been terminated, has he been suspended, with or without pay. If somebody could give me some information, I would certainly appreciate that. There's a lawyer up there, any information? Yeah,
Mr. Carl, you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to be nice over there. All I can say about that is that if I were working in the same department or anywhere with an individual like that, it's a disgusting person to be working with. And that individual certainly should not be working for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. Thanks for visiting Hempstead. Next, I have Bonnie Barron. Happy New Year, and if you name an address, that'd be great.
Bonnie Barron, Rockville Center. I truly believe that government would function much more smoothly and responsibly, and residents would be much better off if they knew more about what government is doing. That's a very, very simple proposition. And there are so many ways that the town could do that, could let the people know what they're doing, what they're voting on, and you just don't do it. Aside from the fact that it would be a good practice, it's also the law. Posting information before the meeting so that people can be educated and decide whether to come and give their views. Being more responsive on FOIL. Yes, Mr. Nocella, I've gotten 1 or 2 FOIL responses back relatively quickly. I've also waited months and months and months for other FOIL responses, and honestly, if, and I've given notice to the town that I will file a lawsuit if those don't get resolved. And
Ms. Carlin, just a quick interruption so that you know.
No, don't interrupt.
Okay.
That's a waste of taxpayers' money. You retain outside counsel even to oppose a pro se litigant who's trying to get information, and we're spending taxpayer money. Yes, one of your staff has reached out to me and offered to sit down after this meeting and talk about my FOILs. But some of those FOILs, you know, should have been responded to in September. I shouldn't have to have a meeting. There should be, I have many suggestions for how to improve that process if anyone's interested. But it's, for the benefit, it's not for my benefit personally, it's for the benefit of all the residents of the town of Hempstead. And as far as public participation, I've been doing research to see how far back people have been raising complaints about the animal shelter. And honestly, I still haven't found the beginning. It goes back years and years. So I've suggested this before. Why not set up an advisory group of interested persons to share ideas and talk about how things might be improved? It would be responsive to the residents. It would contribute to good government. And I don't understand why the board is so resistant to making information available and, inviting input from interested residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Next, I have Merrick.
Mita, J. Merrick. Okay, since this is my time to wax poetic, and I'm not going to expect any response, I do want to speak to what the Police Commissioner Murphy said early with regard to the seniors. I see, again, on the admin calendar, there's an increase in the Senior Enrichment Fund, and I also see that there are some allotments to veteran facilities for rental, because you don't want to increase the rental costs for the taxpayers. Well, here's a thought. Long Island has one of the largest veteran populations, senior, because we're talking about World War II, Korean War era. Why don't we increase that money that you're using in the budget that you've increased for 2022 to increase the rentals in these facilities that are closing rapidly? And Suffolk County seems to be doing a better job with their VFW halls and American Legion halls than Nassau County, as well as the town of Hempstead, to provide better access for those seniors who don't live in Wanto, Merrick, or Belmore, and largely in those communities of color where we don't seem to have established senior centers where they have to, if they knew about it, make a phone call to try to get transport to those locations. That is a thought. Okay, that is a positive initiative for 2022. I will say that I appreciate that the township has a signer, because again, we have people in this location who have disabilities, and as it was mentioned earlier, for various reasons cannot participate in this meeting. I appreciate that. That might be something that you might want to share with your colleagues in Nassau County, because again, it's a violation. So I'm appreciative that at least the township is in compliance with something as it pertains to that. But again, the contracting issues that are ongoing in this township, the number of lawsuits, I still see references to the Tosner list. And if anybody's not familiar with that, that has to do with previous issues with regard to employment and lack of diversity in this township that continues to reign supreme. So no, I can say that I'm happy to be in the new year, but it is not a new year. It is not a happy one if we continue to operate along the same vein. And I again urge Newsday and whatever representatives, if you're going to talk about what the incoming mayor of New York City did with regard to hiring his brother, at least one, he was qualified, two, the public was notified. So we don't get that here. So if the Newsday reporters want to spend time addressing what's happening in New York City, and my heart and prayers go out to the families and those responders that were involved in that fire in the Bronx. But guess what? We have a housing problem here. We need to better educate our young people and our seniors and provide more protection for them, because the problems can happen here. So I don't want anybody else standing in front of a family or a media unit to say we need to do better when we're being told ahead of time that there's a problem. Let's address it. Thank you.
Saturday, Happy New Year. Next, I have Marcia Didier. Happy New Year. If you give your name and address to the record, please.
Happy New Year, Marcia Didier, Merrick, New York. Just two issues. A new year and hopefully a brighter, healthier one for everyone and everything. I hope that the board, as well as the town attorney, read at least one of my emails regarding the town of North Hempstead's new tree preservation laws, changes in tree codes, and creation of a preservation fund that ensures removed trees are replaced, in addition to heavy fines for illegally removing trees or replacement with a comparably sized tree. Our lives depend on tree preservation. Scientific evidence proves that Mother Nature does reverse the effects of toxins, airborne viruses, and disease. This township has not updated or brought forth any tree-related protection laws. Pesticides, floods, lack of oxygen, developers, contractors, big business destroying the environment and making a fortune in development, as presented multiple times in January's meeting, leaving homeowners and the lives that depend on trees to survive left with nothing but luxury developments, new homes with no trees, no open space or nature. When will new laws, as in North Hempstead, be initiated? Please take time to read the email I sent. Also, I wanted to bring up the animal shelter. I hope you will consider using some of the animal shelter funds to do something for the animals, as the town of Islip did. Opened in 1964, their state-of-the-art shelter worked through COVID to help animals, get more people in, to see them and enrich the animals' lives. Our current shelter is outdated, overcrowded, and depressing to see cats that have no exercise, most in little cages in which they just lie there and wait to die. The shelter is too small to accommodate that many animals, many of which are seniors that need stimulation and love. With so much development in our township, wouldn't it be rewarding to start there? Animals deserve better. More space, more staffing, more social distancing. Please consider going to the shelter, going to their shelter, seeing what you could accomplish, and speak with Supervisor Carpenter. Do it for the loving, do it for the animal-loving constituents, even if not for the animals themselves. Kitten season is almost here, even though it never stopped. And as per Commissioner Marino, the Tnr Program is 100% back. You are able to bring as many cats as trapped with no appointments. Please, if you could put that on your website also, the trappers would appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And just so you know, I did reach out to Supervisor Senna up in North Hempstead for a copy of the legislation on the trees. I do not have any of this slipped. Does anybody else who did not sign it or already speak wish to be heard? If not, then I wish all of you a Happy New Year, blessed for all of you, and have a great day.